Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. My name is Hemish, and since 2023, I've been interviewing some of the most talented and well-respected quality leaders in the pharma and biotech industry to learn how they got to where they are now. This season is all about our guests and their journeys. Why they got into science, how they got into quality, their biggest challenges and greatest learns, and the highs and lows along the way. Every week, I'll be bringing you a new guest with the purpose of inspiring the next generation of quality leaders. Welcome to Season 3. I hope you enjoy the show.
Hi all, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. Today I'm joined by Scott Pherson. Scott is the Senior Director of Quality at AS2 Bio. Scott is a quality veteran, 20 years experience in the industry across big pharma and biotech startups. We talk about what it really takes to lead quality in a early phase preclinical startup, and some of the challenges that people face from moving into big pharma, into the startup world and building teams from scratch. We discuss why bringing quality in early is the best way to reduce risk and drive culture. So whether you're in a startup or thinking about moving into that space, this is a really good listen, and something where you can take some key practical takeaways around the challenges, and what it really takes to succeed in the startup world. So let's get into it. Right. Scott, welcome to Let's Talk Quality.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. How you're calling from Boston? Is that where you're based?
Yes, I'm based in the greater Boston area. Yep.
Very good. Well, look, good to have you on. Looking forward to talking about some of your background and what you're doing now. Before we get into it, if you'd give the listeners a quick overview of who you are, what you're doing now, that'd be great.
Sure. So my name is Scott Pherson. I'm currently the Senior Director of Quality Assurance at a startup company called AS2 Bio. I'm a quality professional that's been working in the biotech and pharmaceutical space for about 19 years, and I'm looking forward to getting to chat with you today about all things quality.
Excellent. Take us back to the beginning then, Scott. How did you initially get into science, and how did that sort of evolve and transition into quality?
Sure. I always had a love for science, and I knew that when I entered college that I was going to be pursuing some sort of career working in the sciences. And like many people, I thought, well, it's probably I'll start in pre-med sort of curriculum, and then see where it goes from there. And during my time in college, I really enjoyed the science classes, the laboratories. And, I was one that would be excited to go to my 8 a.m. chemistry laboratory course, or the ones that would go late into the evening. And so with that, I moved on into graduate school after undergraduate, pursued a molecular biology degree. And from there, I ended up starting work at a biotech company, Alkermes, working in a quality role there, in a training role, and it was interesting because the manager and quality there noticed, like, but you have this strong scientific background. Why don't you move into quality control? So I was like, sure. I at the time I chose what was available after I had graduated and was able to move into a quality control function, working in the labs, doing wet chemistry, dry chemistry. He had recognized some of the things I'd done in internships and other things from before. And from there, it's really been moving into different sort of roles within quality or quality operations, until eventually making the transition fully into quality leadership roles, and eventually leading to where I am today.
Nice. When was your first quality leadership role, or something? What you class as your first quality leadership role?
Right. I'd say the first leadership role was at Biogen, and that was in a role it was technically in the technical operations functions, but heavily supporting the quality unit. So I would be the group that was managing their equipment, their software, the documentation, archive, things like that were sort of side by side with the quality groups. And at one point in time, I had a team of about 20 people, and counting all the direct reports, permanent employees, and contractors. I'd say where it switched fully into quality and quality leadership was when I moved from Biogen to Shire, where as a manager in GMP clinical operations. Did a lot of projects there at Shire, a lot of harmonization. They had Shire had just bought Baxalta, and there was a lot of systems that had to be integrated together, processes that had to be harmonized. So it was a great opportunity to be working globally across multiple sites, trying to harmonize the quality systems and processes. The big transition, though, moving into the director level roles was after my time at Shire. It was What was great is when I was there, they kept giving me more responsibilities. I was product quality lead. I was an operations lead. I was on 10 different programs, and all of that was exciting. Every day was different, and at the same time, I felt I wasn't getting enough depth into each of the programs. I was only able to sort of scratch the surface because I was spread so thin. And an opportunity came around to become the head of quality at a small company. It was established small company, medical device company, and they needed a director of QA and QC. And I thought, here's my opportunity now to not just be someone that's been influencing processes and doing a lot of project management work and aligning different groups, but to also set the tone, set the policies, be the decision maker. And from there, that's where I've been able to move into different roles at different types of companies, pursuing different therapeutic areas since that time, and leading me to eventually where I am today as the quality head at a exciting startup company.
So you spent a good amount of time in large pharma, Biogen and Shire, and then you've moved into the sort of startup world now, which you've been in for the last year or so. Tell us about that transition. Big pharma moving into the startup world, which plenty of people are doing at the moment. It's quite a challenging transition, I suppose, if you're not used to that world.
Yes.
What would you say? When you were, when we were interviewing for that role, was there anything character, skill set wise, experience wise that you felt made you stand out and made you a good fit for the role?
Yes. So part of being able to make the transition from a bigger company to a smaller company is being able to explain how things work beyond what you did in your maybe your more focused role within the company. So I was able to leverage my experience, especially at Biogen and Shire, where I was in a role that had a specific function. I was focusing on Shire on releasing clinical material that was being used for clinical trials. At Biogen, I was supporting the analytical development and QC groups at working across multiple types of programs. So by being able to explain, I understand how all the systems work and interact with each other, and ready to now be the person that is the subject matter expert, that is able to understand what we're supposed to do, and then have the experience at the larger company of seeing where things have worked or not worked and how the company has responded to those challenges. So bringing all that together, I think, gave me an edge in being able to get my first quality role at a startup, which was a small startup, AvroBio. I was the second quality hire there, and it's so I guess my advice when making that transition is you will need to be able to explain roles beyond what you currently did, and hopefully you've taken some good notes of where you worked before to understand how things work in other areas, because you're going to have to learn as you do it as well.
Well, yeah. What are some of the immediate challenges that you face going into a person who's number one or number two in quality, very much wearing lots of different hats, and how does that look on on the surface?
Oh yes, if you're not prepared to start figuring out prioritization and sequencing of what needs to get done when, it could be very overwhelming at first because people will come in and say, okay, now we have the quality person here. It's time to hand over this work. It's time to have quality come in and do their review and their review and their blessing to proceed. And the the first thing you have to do is assess where the company is right now. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need quality, right? Because quality, everyone has quality in their job. They come in every day and don't go to work and say, well, I want to do a poor job today. I have no quality mindset in how I'm doing things. Um, and and really what you come down to is you have to assess where are the urgent areas that the company is right now that need that level of assurance behind it. Maybe they're getting ready for some filings, and you realize that they don't have some of the documentation in a state that's going to be accepted. So you have to look at that and say, how much of this can be done sort of on the fly, and we can put together some documentation, some reports, some memos, get those signed off, so we have that assurance that there's a quality oversight to it, and then compare that to ones where there's already say procedures in place, systems and processes, where we're going to be leaning on that a bit more heavily than on, say, some individual steps of making sure that things are sign-offs have happened. So and you won't know that without talking to people. So it's really important that you, when you're starting off in a quality role, you get to know everyone at the company. You get to understand how the teams are working together and where you're going to have your allies in ensuring that quality is front and center in the company. It, when you're a one-person department, a two-person department, it's challenging to be able to be everywhere at once, and you need people to be advocates for quality as well.
In your current role, you with AS2, you've come in at a very early stage, and it's great to see, for some company like that bringing in a quality head at that stage of their development, at preclinical stage. What was the reason for when you started that role? You've been there with them 11, 12 months now.
Yes.
What was the reason they brought you in the first place at such an early stage of development?
Yeah, it was a really exciting and interesting setup that they had there, and I think the reason that they brought quality in so early is the leadership at the company has recognized the importance of doing things right the first time and trying to de-risk programs so that we uh, are able to advance therapies and not run into the pitfalls and setbacks that happen when, kind of as I was describing before, if a company comes in and says, well, now it's time to add quality. If things were already done and they weren't done correctly, you're going to have to redo them. So the mentality at this company was bringing quality early into the process so that we set things up the right way at the beginning, and we're going to save time down the road so that we don't make some mistakes or don't have to repeat work that otherwise might not have been done correctly.
And did they were they using consultants, or were you sort of, because a lot of those types of companies will hire consultants to do that sort of early stage building of processes and things, and then they'll bring in a full-time permanent person maybe sort of later down the line when they see fit. What was the reason? Why did they decide to bring in that full-time you at that stage versus continuing or going down the consultant route?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because they certainly were using consultants, but why bring in my role earlier? I think some of it had to do with consistency. That if you have someone in house and this person, because the company has multiple programs in different areas across different companies, it's a bit easier to have your own individual there that is aware of company culture,
Yeah.
expectations and practices around it that you're not going to get from a consultant necessarily. Consultants are a bit more likely to come back and say, here's your list of issues, here's some potential solutions for it, and now go ahead and execute it. It's still going to fall back to the company to execute it, but if you have someone that's in quality at the company, that person's going to be driving those initiatives, those quality initiatives, to get them completed.
Mm.
And I think that there was a recognition that I'm someone that has been able to do that in the past and can continue to do so in this new role.
And I guess touching on that then, cultural piece. What are the things that when you go into a startup as the first quality head, um, you obviously, you mentioned there getting to know your stakeholders and communicating with them. But what are the things that you have had to prioritize from a cultural standpoint to get things right and get things in a place where you feel that you're embedding something for the future?
Right, right. Yeah. So the company culture. I mean, it'll come back to the leadership and the vision that they have. What sort of company are they trying to build? It's really important to have a good understanding of the vision and the people that are brought in and what their priorities and focus will be. So I know we kind of skipped over some of the years in my career history here, but this is my third time at a startup,
Mm.
and the startups each have different visions of what the company wishes to be. So whatever you're going to design for the company has to align. It means you need to think about what is it they're going to prioritize for bringing in revenue when they're going to be a profitable company. Some of the other, one of my startups was a drug development company, so that was AvroBio. Another startup was a contract manufacturing company, and the one I'm at again is it's a development company. But for example, at the CMO, uh, they have a different source of revenue stream than a company that's developing their own products. So it means that the tools and systems that you're going to put into place have to be very flexible to work on multiple different programs and projects coming in from customers. And uh, to your point of what are some of the challenges that you walk into, I came in the door there and realized they picked the wrong system, the wrong quality system to roll out, and had to have some tough conversations to say, if we continue to progress using the system that you have put in place here, you're going to have this huge bottleneck. You're going to get tangled in your own processes in order to be able to be successful and move things forward. Um, and that's I think that's also a good reason to bring in quality early, is that it also feeds in nicely into the overall principles of quality by design, because quality should be part of the conversation as early as possible. Um, we know to get out of the way when it's in the very early stage. Let all the ideas percolate and just sort of offer our guidance of, if you go with A, here are things to think about. If you go with B, here are things to think about. We'll support whatever decision you make at the end of the day. Um, but when there's not a consultation early on, um, they may miss some of the key things key requirements that are going to go needed. And like I said before, you have to go and redo things, or you'll have to make a change that you weren't expecting to have to do early on in the process.
Yeah, yeah. So, how was and if you reflect back now on the last 11 months, then, but when you came into the role with AS2, what were the key mandates that you set out for your first 12 months in the role, and how have they played out?
Sure, and uh, I can't go into all the details of those, but I could say at a high level, the mandates we had to think about were, what is our timelines for the programs, when they're going to when we're going to plan for INDs, when we're going to plan for the trials to start, when we're going to
Mm.
get that data, because when you're a startup, you're also going to need to you're going to need to show data that's going to make your company attractive to future investors as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it means then that you come in and say, what are the roadblocks to get to those points? And and from my standpoint here, it was to make sure then that our partners, our vendors that we were using, suppliers that we're using, um, are qualified, and to make sure then that um, they're meeting the expectations, and getting and then working from there backwards around what our company has to build ourselves fully. So, for example, we are rolling out quality systems and processes at the moment, but it made sense to first focus on getting our vendors qualified and good to
Yeah.
go before we
Yeah.
build our own process.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And how about sort of building, going into the leadership sort of side of things, and as you build a team, obviously when you're a startup, you don't have as much as a brand awareness, brand presence, and you're obviously in Boston. It's a tough place to attract talent. Well, it's a competitive landscape, a tough place to attract talent if you don't have a name and a brand, versus some of the bigger competing brands. How have you gone about? I suppose. Driving that kind of brand proposition, employer value proposition, and attracting talent.
Yeah, no, that is certainly something that it's an uphill battle in many cases, where if you're a startup, you don't have that name recognition. You don't. Um, there's risk working at a startup. Most startups fail, um, and and people have to understand that before jumping into such a company. Uh, so what I'd say is certainly about my current company is the history of the company. Even though we're a startup, there's a long-standing history and relationship that we have to the disease that we're focusing on, which is Angelman syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rare neurological disease. It's a non-degenerative one, but it is the entire lifetime of a patient. They're born with a condition where they're lacking a protein in the brain that
Yeah.
renders them unable to talk. They have motor movements, issues, often have seizures. Essentially, they're going to require 24/7 care throughout their entire life. It's a very demanding job, very demanding on the families to be able to take care
Mm.
of the patient, let alone the patient just struggling with
Mm.
being able to communicate. And there was an organization, the Foundation for Angelman Syndrome's Therapeutics, or FAST, that was founded over a decade ago, that specifically was looking for bridging that gap of what you get from public funding for research in this area and private donor investment into finding therapies and cures for Angelman syndrome. So that organization, this nonprofit organization, has been quite successful in raising funds and being able to fund some of the research in Angelman syndrome. And that's where the company that I'm working for is founded um, by a nonprofit organization. And our focus is to bring these therapies from the laboratories into the clinics. Uh, and that's what gives us sort of a unique story compared to other startups, is there's this connection because you have this entire community that are very focused on a disease that does not have any treatment, any commercial treatments available for Angelman syndrome. How do we get treatments out there? So it's a compelling argument. And then the leadership, even at my company, has direct connections to Angelman syndrome. Their parents have Angelman syndrome or have other family members that have Angelman syndrome. This this vision together with this laser focus really makes it an exciting opportunity to join the company. So I know in that 1 minute or so pitch that I gave to you, if you can sell that to someone else saying, join my company because look at what we're doing, it's amazing. And the people that you work with are great. You need both of those. You need that connect that vision and the people and say, this will be an amazing place to work. Otherwise, it is a lot of work. It's like doing the same job at a startup that you would at a larger company with less resources.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I suppose the challenge though is getting the candidates or getting the applicants in the first place when you don't have that brand awareness as well. But it sounds like there's a strong community from a patient population standpoint. Once you start engaging with individuals, engaging with the talent community, there's a good unique selling proposition there that you can, and a story that you can tell, which is quite personal to the company, I suppose.
Yes, it is. It's great to bring that connection in. I'd say everywhere that I've worked, large company or small company, needs to connect that vision back to, at the end of the day, what are we doing? Yes, we're for profits. We're trying, we're making money for it, but there is an impact. We're saving and
Mm.
enhancing people's lives, and you need that connection back to who you're impacting. You get the patient stories. There's um, town halls where at other companies over the time I've worked at town halls, the patient will come in, maybe someone that was directly impacted by a product that you've been able to develop and now get approved and is out there. Um, you need ways to motivate people to see that you can make an impact and a difference at the end
Yeah.
of the day. Um, it also reminds you as well. This is why quality is so important to every role, is because everyone plays their part in the company's success, and
Mm.
this is something that's going to affect patients. So it's not an abstract thing. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing when no one's watching.
Yeah. No, yeah. Do you think there's a certain type of character, certain type of person that thrives in the startup world? Because I've seen people go from big pharma into startups before, and it's been a real challenge because they've really struggled with the chaotic nature. Um,
Oh yeah.
so I think it does take a certain type of person to be able to thrive in that environment. But what sort of are there any characteristics that you think you display that have made you a good fit for this world?
Certainly, yes. There's uh, someone has to be very self-motivated and disciplined around uh, time management and prioritization of work. Uh, you're not getting to walk in and then have your dashboard of what tests are going to be run this week and next week.
Mm,
Uh, if there is going to be one, you're going to build it yourself, and then you have to hold yourself accountable to it. Uh, it requires that. It requires that discipline. It requires that self
mm,
motivation. Requires you to be aware and looking around for what you'll need to get the work done, and then be able to communicate that with with your peers and with leadership to ensure that we can meet things in the timelines that are being um, put forward. So you need that. You also need someone to be flexible, because uh, there are the rules are being written as we're working, or the other analogy, you're building the plane as you're flying it. So you have to be comfortable with some of that ambiguity at the moment, or some of that lack of certainty, because we haven't decided yet as to how things are working. We're still figuring that out as a startup. And for some people that can be jarring, because then it may feel like decisions are happening, and you're moving to the left, you're moving to the right. It's not a straight path of, hey, I came in to do steps, A, B, and C.
mm.
You've had to chart that course. So if you're comfortable with that, some of that ambiguity, I think you need that to be successful. I think the other piece is, and this isn't just for a startup, because I've also worked at smaller companies, is uh, really to remember you're a person. Everyone's a person. Everyone needs to understand each other and how to work together, collaborate, be respectful. Um, that goes a long way in being able to be successful. And I know it goes for anywhere, but if you're at a smaller company, uh, you're going to be interacting at all different levels, more so than at a larger company. So you've you've got to have that mentality of we're, we're in this together, and we're supporting one another. We're not competing with one another.
Yeah, it's good advice. Is there any if someone's going for an interview with a similar size, company, startup, building quality teams, building systems from scratch?
Yes.
They may have done it before, but may have been in bigger organizations, big pharma. Any particular sort of words of advice that you would give people as they prepare for that interview process?
Yes. Yeah. I would advice that I would give is be prepared for explaining how you overcame challenges in
Mm,
your previous role. Um, Really demonstrate that you understand how things work, and are putting a picture to this future company of they get how you'll operate in this new state. Uh, I think it's especially important if you were someone that didn't necessarily drive the entire project, that maybe you didn't roll out the entire new document management system, or whatever other program that you were rolling out. You were running a piece of it, but you're ready to now drive that yourself. Is that a startup is looking at every role is critical, every person that's added, and they want to know that you've brought in you've been through this before. You know how to handle things. You know how to handle issues that might pop up along the way, and then secondly, that you're someone that works well with others.
mm,
So if you're if you're showing signs that that you may not be that flexible, you're not very humble in what you've done, and I mean humble in a way of not saying that you know everything. You've got to still show you know how to do things,
yeah.
but if, uh, that's going to be off-putting for a startup company to say, like, look, we need to have team players and people that know what they're doing, and they just put their head down and get it done.
Just a bit on sort of your leadership philosophy, Scott. How would you describe your current sort of leadership style, and how has that changed over the course of your leadership career?
Sure. My leadership style is uh, player coach mentality, sort of a servant style leadership. I know this is something that's been popular over the past 10 years or so, of companies coming in realizing that leaders are really, um, they're the work gets done by their teams. The work gets done by the people on the line, their managers, and as a leader there, your job is to ensure that they can get their job done. That there are obstacles where they can't overcome them, or things that you need to be able to provide to them, you're doing so. So for me, how I translate it into day to day is regular communications with my peers, definitely with my team, regular check-ins, and understanding uh, where things are progressing, where they're running into any challenges, how can I help meet those, and as far as how that translates within the company is also the transparency of saying, here's what I'm going to do, here's when I'm going to get it done, and here's where I am. Um, and if the other leadership sees that, they keep getting this consistent message and updates, they understand where we are, where we're going, where we're running into risks, and that's what they want to know from quality. I often joke that when when you're not hearing from us, or you're not realizing quality is working, we're at our best. It means that things are under control. It means that um, it should feel kind of boring in that sense. Um, it's when quality is involved a lot, there's sometimes a question of what's going on, because
Yeah,
generally it's meant to be part of a process, right? That quality by design
yeah,
mentality.
excellent. And then just I guess just to cap off this sort of discussion, when you look ahead for to the next sort of 12 to 18 months, keeping it high level, what are you most excited about?
Oh, I'm most excited about what we're going to be able to do at my current company with our potential drugs that are going into clinic, or we're getting ready to file, and such. There's amazing work in the cell and gene therapy space, and a lot of the programs I'm focusing on right now are cell and gene therapy programs. It's to me, what's always exciting, not just like what I'm doing right now, or cutting edge areas of research, but just in general, the whole field, as we move toward patient centered uh, treatments and approaches, keeping in mind the patient at the end of the day has to follow whatever treatment regimen you build. So when you have treatment options that are these once and done, so to speak, just imagine the reduced day-to-day burden we've provided the patients and the ability of a chance to live a more normal life. So that's what excites me is seeing what's going on right now that I'm able to directly influence in my current job, but also as overall in the whole field of biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, that we've advanced knowledge, we're building science upon uh, past work, and continue to do so, because at the end of the day, it's not only better for the patients; they'll have a better life with better drugs that are out there, but
Yeah.
the way of thinking and approaching things in that regard, finding new areas to treat and such, it's really going to it's going to help everyone, because if you have more and more people that are able to get their lives back, and then the families and others directly impacted by diseases as well, it's not just the patient but also who around them's impacted. If they all get to have better lives, it's just a net positive for everyone. So that's what I look to. I'm definitely an optimistic person, trying to see what's the potential that's out there, and realistically knowing though too that there's a lot of work to get there, and the uh, day-to-day challenges that happen in trying to bring forward new therapies, and the things that can go wrong, and just get through it, and then see the outcome at the end. That's what motivates me.
Very good. Well, I think you have to be, if you're working in biotech, you'll have to be an optimist, right? Because of the setbacks and knockbacks that companies and organizations face. But I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I really, really wish you all the best for the next few months as you move into the clinic and start dosing patients for the first time. So it'd be great to have you back on in the next sort of 12 to 18 months and see how that's all panning out. But no, we finish off the conversation with some quick fire questions, Scott,
Sure.
just around your sort of quality leadership side of things. First question is around your values. What are the three most important values that you live and die by?
Great question. Yes. One of the values is certainly transparency. I want to be transparent and genuine in who I am and what I do, and then also with the responsibilities I have in the department, that needs to be clear and transparent. Uh, Integrity is an essential quality as well. Do the right thing all the time. Um, it's it's really important to have that, and then trust. And what with trust is not just with um, there's trust between you and another person. You have to build trust. You build a rapport, and then you learn to trust one another. Um, but I'd say, being someone that works in quality, our our currency is trust. We build that. We build that within the company. We build it across companies. We build that with our regulatory bodies. So if you follow the being maintaining integrity, being transparent, um, you build that trust, and that trust is used to ensure that work is done correctly, and people feel safe and comfortable, because it is exciting, everything I'm describing. It's also scary. Some people, when they learn about different types of technologies out there, um, our job is to make sure that these are safe and effective, and people can uh, trust the science. So those are three
Yeah,
values.
very good. If you were to hire your successor, what are the sort of skills, attributes, qualities that you would look for?
Yes, I would certainly look for someone that is trustworthy. I said before, someone that's going to come in and be genuine and do everything they said they would do, and be clear about that. I'd look for someone that understands how to forecast and evaluate. So someone that's really good at evaluating risk. I think I had said earlier that one of the roles of bringing in quality early into the conversation is to de-risk things. So if I were looking for a successor, that person has to understand how to view and measure and manage risk, and have good influence on others around being able to get them to do the right thing when no one's watching, as I said, because quality, I think earlier, you need to have your advocates, you need to have your allies in order to get the job done at the company.
Very good. And this could be anyone, whether it be personal or professional, but is there anyone that has been the biggest inspiration, or who has been the biggest inspiration to you in your life, personally or professionally?
Yeah, I'd say my father has been a person I'd say who's had the biggest influence in my life. He also worked in the biotech space, and I grew up watching him, come back from work, or talk about what's going on in that space, and so him being a scientist and then me studying science, like I always felt inspired by him. When I was in graduate school, I kept a picture of him when he was back in his early days in graduate school in the cover of my lab notebook, because it would remind me every day of why I love doing this and who helped influence me to do so.
That's awesome. Good for you. Final question. What one piece of advice would you give to aspiring quality leaders?
One piece of advice. I'll keep it to just one here. I would say that as you move into the leadership role, you really have to remember you've now switched over to be focusing on people development. So you need to ensure that every day you're keeping your team motivated, you're keeping them up to date, giving them opportunities to grow and learn and enjoy what they're doing. So when you're ready to move into the next step, remember why you're there and how you got there. Is that probably someone else saw some value in you being a future leader and invested in you there, so you want to definitely be someone to give that back.
Excellent. Scott, that's been great. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're extremely busy in the startup world, so I really enjoyed your story and excited to see what you guys carry on to continue to do over the next few months. So thanks again for coming on the show. If people were to sort of want to reach out and get in touch with you, is LinkedIn generally the best way? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I look forward to hearing from them.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I hope that you got value from it, whether you're starting your career in quality or if you're at the top of your field. Today's episode was brought to you by RX Group. I'm the founder of RX Group. We are a pharma and biotech recruitment organization focusing purely on quality assurance. We recruit consultants and senior level permanent quality professionals into the pharma and biotech industry. If we can support you, whether that be in a hiring capacity or if you yourself are looking for work, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn, visit our LinkedIn page where you can subscribe to the podcast, and visit our website, www.rx-group.io, to find out more about us. See you soon.